This week's card is an all-purpose book card that you can use for pretty much any sentiment that you want. The main two things that you're going to need for this project is the library background by Brutus Monroe, as well as the Katya stamp set by The Ink Road. I'm also going to be using a pick scan and a silhouette. For more information on what I'm using, go ahead and check out the description below. So first I'm going to take a scrap of Bristol smooth paper, and I'm going to take the girl stamp from the set, and I'm just going to put it on my acrylic block and stamp it using Versafine ink. On your scrap, you probably should also make sure it fits so that it also has a little bit of room for the offset on the pick scan. I'm going to be using my pick scan sheet. I'm just going to varnish my girl on it. I already cut down the scrap so that it would fit properly, and I'm just going to use a bone folder and really make sure that's stuck well down. This scrap is pretty small, so I'm going to also use washi tape to make sure it's on there and doesn't come off while I'm cutting. Now if you want specific instructions on how to use the pick scan, then you can go ahead and check out my first video, the Pop-Tart card, or my second video for a briefer description, and I'll have links to those videos in the description below. Now that it's complete, I'm just going to remove the washi tape and use a tool to scrape it off so I don't touch the adhesive part and get it less sticky. Now that it's off, I'm just going to pop out that little section in between her head and her legs, and I'm also going to be putting my drink separately, so I'm just going to go ahead and take a pair of scissors and cut that off. Now I'm going to use my Tombow markers and get started on coloring. I'm starting with number 977, and I'm just going to fill in her hair. She has a headband in her hair, and it's kind of hard to tell, but if you look carefully, you can see that there are two lines in her hair that converge, and that's where the headband starts. So I'm going to leave a gap so that I can color that in properly. On the bun, I'm just going to leave a little bit of space left. I'm going to leave some strands, and I'm just going to go over those later with another color. So next I'm going to use my water and a brush, and I'm just going to use a very tiny amount, and I'm going to just go over the hair so that the color is kind of evened out, because before it was a little bit streaky. Now I'm going to take number 969, and I'm just going to color a couple streaks in her bun. Then I'm going to take the water and the paintbrush again, and I'm just going to kind of blend it out so it seems more natural. I'm going to grab 062, and I'm going to color in her headband. It does have a gap in it, but I'm just going to fill that in how I think it should be. Now I'm going to grab my 910, and I'm going to fill in her face. Now when I'm filling in the skin, I'm going to make sure to follow the curves of her face and fill in any little blank spots. I'm also going to color in, while I have it out, her feet as well as her arms. Grab my paintbrush and some more water, and I'm just going to smooth out her face. To color in her top, I'm going to use 856, and I'm just going to follow the outline of her shirt. There's also a little sliver of her shirt behind her right arm, so don't forget to color that part in. Now I'm going to color her jeans in with 403. Now I'm just going to rinse and repeat. I'm just going to smooth out her shirt and any other little splotchy areas that I might find. Her phone case and her book any color you want. I made the pages a very, very light color. I'm using 910, but just a little bit, and I'm also going to use my paintbrush to remove some of that, and I'm just going to do her phone case the same color as her bandana. And now for her drink, I'm going to use number 969 again, and I'm just going to fill it in, making sure I avoid the ice cubes in it. For the straw, I'm using 403. Now I've got my library background as well as a sheet of yellow cardstock that I have cut to be 6 inches by 6 inches. Really, all this is not necessary. I'm going to cut it down later, but it does help with the stamping process so that the entire stamp will fit on it and I can use the magnets to hold it down. Place it where I want it, flat side up, and get it on the top. Then I'm just going to ink it up using my Versafine. This may take quite a while to dry because Versafine is an ink that, especially when you put a lot of it on and when you do it more than once, as I had to do, it takes a very long time to dry, but it gives you a really crisp image. So if I were you, I would just let this sit aside for a while. I would maybe use a heat gun on it every once in a while, but it definitely will take quite a bit to dry. Quicker alternative is Ranger Archival, but it does not produce as clear of an image, so for this time I'm just going to sit and wait. So this step is completely optional, you really don't have to do it, but I'm going to be using Ranger Glossy Accent, and I'm going to be making the cup look kind of shiny, giving it that nice 3D texture. So I'm going to take a scrap sheet of paper, anything really, and I'm just going to practice a little bit. You're just going to fill in the shape of the cup, do the outline, and then use the tip to kind of fill it in. So the goal of this is to try and get it to look smooth, so once you've filled it in, if there are any bubbles, you can just go ahead and pop them with a pin. If you leave them there, they'll dry like that and it really won't look very nice at all. So this step also takes kind of a long time to dry, maybe like an hour or two, but I think it's worth it for the look. While I wait for everything to dry, I'm just going to take some Bristol Smooth cardstock and the My Weekend is All Booked Up stamp, and I'm going to use some Versafine, and I'm going to stamp it kind of in the middle-ish because I'm going to be die cutting this out to make a tag that goes on the background. So now I'm going to cut out my tag. I'm going to use the steel dies by Art Impressions, the square ones. So I'm going to use the 5th square so that it can cover up my words, it can get all the words in there, but it still has just a little bit of room, but not much. I don't want it to take up too much excess space. It also gives it this really nice stitch look that I like, so I'm just going to place it where I want it over my words, and I'm going to washi tape it down so that it stays, because if this gets ruined, you're going to have to do it again, and that's just going to be a pain. So just washi tape it down really well, and then I'm going to get my die press, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut it. Now that my book background's dry, I'm going to go ahead and trim it down. I'm going to have a layered look, so I'm going to cut it to a little bit less than my card. So I'm going to cut it to 5.5 inches by 4 inches, and I'm going to make sure that I cut it, first of all, so that the books go straight and vertically, so that it makes sense. And I'm also going to make sure I trim off the excess yellow from all the sides. So I'm going to cut it and flip it so that it all goes on evenly. The final step of this project is to assemble, so I'm just going to use my tape runner and I'm going to tape on my yellow background, getting a nice even margin around the card. By the way, you really want to make sure that this paper is dry before you start this step. So now I'm going to attach my girl. I'm just going to use some glue and I'm going to attach her into the bottom right hand corner. Then I'm just going to grab that iced tea and I'm just going to glue it right next to her, making sure that I put glue on the straw. Now for the tag, I'm going to be using my tape runner again, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it all around the sides and in the middle, and then I'm going to put it in the upper left-hand corner. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial on how to make an all-purpose book card. I personally love books, and I think it turned out really well. The background is super nice because when you stamp it onto color, you don't have to color in each individual book, which would be kind of a hassle. I think this turned out well, and I really enjoyed making it. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe and stay crafty till next time!